Have you ever found yourself standing in front of the fridge, knowing you're not really hungry, but feeling this magnetic pull to just eat something? If so, you're not alone. It's that moment where your logical brain checks out and a deeper, more urgent feeling takes over. You might grab the ice cream, the leftover pizza, or a bag of chips, and for a few glorious minutes you feel a sense of relief. But then, almost immediately, the guilt floods in. The shame. The feeling of being completely out of control. For years, I thought the answer was more discipline or another brutal diet. I believed if I just had superhuman willpower, I could finally conquer these urges. But what if I told you the solution has nothing to do with food, and everything to do with something much, much deeper? Today, we're going to uncover the hidden psychological trigger that drives emotional eating. And more importantly, I'll give you a simple, practical, step-by-step plan to finally break the cycle. Not just for a week or a month, but for good. Let's paint a picture that might feel a little too real. It's been a long, stressful day. Your boss was breathing down your neck, deadlines were piling up, and you had a tense call with a family member. You get home feeling completely drained, a mix of exhaustion, frustration, and that low-level anxiety humming just under your skin. You know you make a healthy dinner, but the thought of chopping vegetables feels like climbing Mount Everest. Instead, you find yourself drifting toward the pantry. Your brain whispers, "You deserve a treat, just a little something to take the edge off." It starts with a few cookies, then a handful of chips. Before you know it, you're eating without even tasting, almost in a trance. It's like you go unconscious for a bit. The difficult emotions of the day seem to melt away, replaced by a temporary, sugary, or salty numbness. But the relief doesn't last. As soon as the binge is over, a new wave of emotions crashes down: regret, shame, and self-loathing. You ask yourself, why did I do that? What is wrong with me? This guilt becomes its own form of stress, which then fuels the need for more comfort, creating a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle. Your emotions trigger you to overeat. You beat yourself up for it, you feel bad, and then you overeat again. Here's the secret that most diet plans and wellness gurus won't tell you. This is not a failure of your willpower. Let me repeat that. You are not weak, and you are not broken. The reason you can't willpower your way out of emotional eating is because you're trying to solve an emotional problem with a food-based solution. It's like trying to fix a leaky pipe with a hammer. You're using the wrong tool for the job. The real problem isn't the food. Food is just the symptom. The real problem is the unprocessed, unacknowledged emotion that sends you running for cover. The uncomfortable feeling is the real issue, and food has become your go-to coping mechanism. For so many of us, this pattern starts in childhood. Were you given a cookie when you fell and scraped your knee? Or a piece of candy to quiet you down when you were upset? We learn from a young age that food can be a source of comfort, a distraction, a way to soothe ourselves when we feel bad. This becomes a deeply ingrained habit, an automatic response that happens before we even have a chance to think. So the first and most crucial step in breaking this cycle is to stop blaming yourself. Stop engaging in the self-judgment that only makes the problem worse. Instead, I want you to get curious. I want you to start looking at these moments not as failures, but as messages from your body, trying to tell you something important. To truly break free, we have to understand what's actually happening in our minds and bodies. The key is learning to distinguish between two totally different types of hunger: physical hunger and emotional hunger. This distinction is the bedrock of your newfound freedom. Physical hunger is a biological need. It's your body's way of saying it needs energy to function. Physical hunger comes on gradually. It might start as a gentle rumbling in your stomach, a slight dip in your energy, or a bit of brain fog. When you're physically hungry, you're generally open to eating different kinds of foods. An apple, a piece of chicken, a bowl of soup, they all sound pretty good because your body just wants fuel. Once you eat, you feel satisfied, and the hunger signals fade. You feel content and energized. Emotional hunger, on the other hand, is a psychological craving. It's driven by your feelings, not an empty stomach. Emotional hunger hits you suddenly, like a tidal wave. One minute you're fine, the next you have an intense, urgent craving for a very specific food, usually something high in sugar, fat, or salt. It's rarely a craving for broccoli or a salad. It's a demand for ice cream, cookies, pizza, or chips. There's a reason we call them comfort foods. Here's the science made simple. When we're stressed, our body produces a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol triggers cravings for these high-energy, pleasurable foods, because our brain knows they provide a quick hit of dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. Eating these foods literally gives you a burst of energy and pleasure, making you feel better in the moment. This is a powerful reward system. Your brain learns, feeling bad, eat this, feel good. The problem is, this relief is a flash in the pan. Studies show that any mood boost you get from comfort food is incredibly temporary, often lasting just a few minutes. And once it's gone, you're left with the original emotion, plus the added burden of guilt. So how can you tell the difference in the moment? Ask yourself these questions. 1. How did the hunger start? Did it build slowly over time, physical, or did it appear suddenly out of nowhere, emotional? 2. What am I craving? Am I open to a balanced meal, or do I need one specific food like chocolate or French fries, emotional? 3. Where do I feel it? Is it a rumbling in my stomach, physical? Or is it a feeling in my head or chest, like an urgent thought or a tightness, emotional? Emotional hunger isn't located in the stomach. 4. How am I eating? Am I paying attention to the food and enjoying it, or am I eating mindlessly, almost on autopilot, emotional? 5. How do I feel after? Do I feel satisfied and nourished, physical, or do I feel guilty, ashamed, or even more upset, emotional? Understanding this difference isn't about judging one type of hunger as good and the other as bad. Both are valid experiences. The goal is simply to build awareness. When you can correctly identify that you're experiencing emotional hunger, you give yourself the power to choose your next action, rather than just being a victim of your automatic impulses. You can finally stop trying to fill an emotional void with physical food. Okay, so we've established that this isn't about willpower, and we've learned how to tell the difference between physical and emotional hunger. Now for the practical part, this is the how. I'm going to give you a 3-step plan based on principles of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, a proven approach for changing our thought patterns and behaviors. This isn't a quick fix, but it's a sustainable strategy for creating real, lasting change. Step 1. Become a detective of your emotions. The first step to solving any mystery is to gather clues. For the next week, your only job is to become a detective of your own emotional landscape. You're not trying to change anything yet, you are simply observing. The best tool for this is a food and mood diary. This can be a small notebook, a note on your phone, anywhere you can jot things down quickly. Every time you feel the urge to eat when you know you're not physically hungry, you're going to write down 4 things. 1. What time is it? This helps you spot patterns in your daily schedule. 2. What did I want to eat? Get specific. Was it salty, sweet, crunchy? 3. What was happening right before the urge hit? Did you just get off a stressful work call? Were you scrolling social media and saw something that made you feel inadequate? Were you simply bored? These are your triggers. 4. How was I feeling? Try to name the specific emotion. Instead of just bad, dig a little deeper. Are you feeling lonely, anxious, resentful, sad, or insecure? If you have trouble naming your feelings, you can even use a feelings wheel. Just search for it online. This practice of labeling your experience is incredibly powerful. For many of us, this is the first time we've ever consciously connected an emotion to an urge to eat. You are moving the problem from an unconscious habit to a conscious choice. By simply recognizing and acknowledging the behavior without judging it, you are already one huge step closer to overcoming it. This diary is your roadmap. It will show you exactly what emotions and situations are driving your behavior. By the way, if you're finding this helpful and want to go deeper, I've created a free downloadable emotional detective workbook. It guides you through this whole process with prompts and examples to make this first step as easy and insightful as possible. Leave a comment below and I will send you a copy. Also, if you're getting value from this video, please take a second to hit that subscribe button. We explore topics like this every week, and I'd love for you to be a part of this community. Step 2. Create the sacred pause. Now that you've started to identify your triggers, the next step is to create a small pocket of space between the trigger and your response. I call this the sacred pause. The urge to eat emotionally can feel incredibly intense and immediate. The goal here isn't to deny yourself the food, but to simply wait. The rule is simple. Wait for 5 minutes. That's it. When the craving hits, set a timer on your phone for 5 minutes. During this time, you are not allowed to tell yourself, I can't have it. The forbidden is always more tempting. Instead, tell yourself, I can have whatever I want in 5 minutes, but for now, I'm just going to sit with this feeling. In those 5 minutes, your only job is to check in with yourself. Ask yourself the questions from step 1. What am I feeling right now? Where do I feel it in my body? What does this emotion need? This brief pause does two magical things. First, it breaks the automatic, unconscious link between feeling and eating. You're inserting a moment of mindfulness into a process that was previously mindless. You are moving from reacting to responding. Second, it gives the initial intensity of the craving time to fade. Often, you'll find that after 5 minutes, the urgency has fizzled out. The emotion might still be there, but the desperate need to numb it with food has lessened. You might still decide to eat, and that's okay. But now it's a conscious choice, not a compulsion. And sometimes you'll realize you don't actually want the food anymore. You'll realize you want something else entirely. Which brings us to our final and most important step. Step 3. Build your emotional first aid kit. If you're not going to use food to soothe your emotions, you need other tools ready to go. Emotional eating is a coping mechanism, and you can't just take away a coping mechanism without replacing it with something else. This is where you build your emotional first aid kit, a personalized list of non-food activities that can help you process and soothe specific emotions. Look back at your food and mood diary. What were the most common emotions that triggered your eating? Let's take 3 common ones: stress, boredom, and loneliness. Now let's brainstorm at least 3 alternative actions for each. Your list might look something like this. If I'm feeling stressed or anxious, instead of eating, I can do a 5-minute guided breathing exercise. There are tons of free apps for this. Put on a specific song that always calms me down and just listen. Take a quick walk around the block to clear my head. If I'm feeling bored or empty, instead of eating, I can work on a hobby I enjoy, drawing, playing an instrument, or doing a puzzle. Listen to an engaging podcast or an audiobook. Spend 10 minutes tidying up one small area of my home to feel productive. If I'm feeling lonely or sad, instead of eating, I can call or text a friend or family member who always makes me feel better. Look at old photos that bring back happy memories. Cuddle with a pet. The physical contact can be incredibly soothing. The key is to have this list written down and easy to grab. Put it on your fridge, on your desk, or as a note on your phone. When you're in that sacred pause from step 2 and you identify the emotion, you don't have to think. You just look at your list and pick one activity. This isn't about finding a perfect solution. It's about finding something that is better than food in that moment. It's about learning to give yourself what you truly need, whether that's relaxation, stimulation, or connection. Over time, as you practice this, these new behaviors will become your new default. Your brain will learn that when you feel lonely, calling a friend actually works better than eating a pint of ice cream. Breaking the cycle of emotional eating is not a battle to be won. It's a journey of self-discovery and self-compassion. For so long, you may have treated your body and your emotions as the enemy. You've tried to fight them, control them, and shame them into submission. But that approach will never lead to freedom. The path forward is about listening. It's about turning towards your difficult feelings with curiosity instead of fear. It's about learning to parent yourself, to offer yourself the same comfort and care you would offer a loved one who is struggling. So what's the big takeaway? The goal is not to control your food, it's to understand your feelings. The path is a simple 3-step process. Become an emotional detective, create the sacred pause, and build your emotional first aid kit. This journey won't be a straight line. There will be days when you fall back into old patterns, and that is completely okay. When you have a setback, please don't see it as a failure. See it as a learning opportunity. Ask yourself, what happened? What was the trigger? And then, with kindness, forgive yourself and begin again. True change is a process of 1 step back, 2 steps forward. Be patient and kind with yourself. You have the power within you to change this relationship for good. You can get to a place where food is just food, not a source of comfort, punishment, or shame, a place where you are free to nourish your body and, more importantly, to feel every single one of your emotions without needing to run away. Thank you so much for being here today. If this video resonated with you, I highly recommend you check out my other video on mindful eating techniques, which is a perfect next step on this journey. Remember to be kind to yourself. You are not alone, and you are more than capable of creating a life of true food freedom.